Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Coming up tonight on Our News, the mother of a man murdered this morning speaks out. One minister's take on the Oban deal, plus a new Supreme Court justice and 4 magistrates sworn in. Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, a 25-year-old man was shot and killed this morning after the occupants of a dark-colored vehicle reportedly stopped his car just a few feet away from his home. The victim's mother cried uncontrollably on the scene. Jillian Gray has the details.
The sister and mother of the country's latest homicide victim broke through police barricade as his body was being carried away. Tearful and distraught, Myrna Augusti identified the victim as her 25-year-old son, Servante Moss.
For the killers who kill him, God will deal with y'all, you know. God will deal with y'all. Y'all gotta take life serious now. Y'all killed my only son. Y'all just take my heartstring from me, you know. My heartstring, my only boy. My heart.
According to police press liaison Audley Peters, nothing suggests that this shooting was gang-related. The victim was shot by 3 assailants just a few feet away from his home.
The victim was approaching his home when a vehicle stopped him. Occupants exited that vehicle and discharged firearms in his direction, where he was fatally wounded.
Officers say the victim was shot multiple times. This bullet-ridden Honda Civic shows 9 bullet holes through the front windshield. Augusti says her son borrowed her car and was coming right back home. The heartbroken mother says she heard the sounds of gunshots from her house, and all she felt was fear.
He just gone around the corner, and when he was coming back, I heard the gunshots. And when I look outside, I see the person come out the car, and they still was shooting.
How many gunshots did you hear?
Boy, it was many. Couldn't keep count because I was scared.
Augusti described her son as a generous, loving person despite his shortcomings. Moss was just released from prison in February and is expecting his first child.
He liked to smoke, and he was coming off that. Okay? But he's a nice person. He is loved by many. He was arrested a few years back for drugs, and he was just released out in February.
Now, family members are obviously still shaken and reeling from this incident. They say they want justice to be brought at the swiftest possible time. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
Well, a 71-year-old woman speaking out on an attack that led to police killing her assailant. The incident unfolded on Saturday afternoon. As Jarrett Higgs tells us, most of it was caught on camera.
He pushed me out of the way, slammed my car Jeep, and he slammed me down on the ground.
This 71-year-old breakfast vendor doesn't want her face shown as she tells us how a man she never met threw her to the ground near the farmer's market where she sells food.
When I was on the ground, I was crying.
It all started on Saturday afternoon when the woman was moving items from her shop in the farmer's market on Blue Hill Road South. She says out of nowhere, a man threw her to the ground and slammed her Jeep door. After the initial assault, a fellow vendor confronted the man. Both the vendor and the elderly victim say they were shocked by what happened next.
When we look, he pulled a gun. He hold up his shirt and pull a gun out of the side of his face, and he pointed at water.
Concerned citizens chased the man to his moonshine drive home. Police say that's when he produced a shotgun and shot one of the people coming after him. Those moments were caught on this Ring doorbell camera. You can hear one of the men ask if the shotgun has shots in it. They soon find out as the gun goes off and one of them is hit. The group scrambles for cover. More doorbell footage shows the police showing up. They say the man fired at them, so they shot back several times. Cell phone footage shows officers firing dozens of shots down at the man, killing him. Neighbors described him as unusual, doubting his mental stability. They say he lived in a home that looked abandoned. Police say they found 3 illegal weapons when they searched the property.
I was shocked. I almost had a heart attack when I saw what happened to me.
Meanwhile, the 71-year-old woman he attacked can't understand why he did what he did. She says she's been at her shop for 19 years and lived in the area for 30. Luckily, her only injuries are a swollen left knee. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
Clumsy and a rookie mistake is how Member of Parliament for Marco City Michael Pintard is describing the controversial Oban deal.
The bottom line is Oban was a clumsy execution of a ceremonial signing, a signing that was done according to law, but a simulation of it, that is a reproduction of it, was clumsy.
In 2018, government held a ceremonial signing with Oban Energies for $5.5 billion oil refinery and storage facility on Grand Bahama. The heads of agreement was originally signed during a press conference with Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis and then Oban Energies non-executive chairman Peter Krieger, who signed on behalf of Oban. Minnis later admitted there were missteps.
Rookie's mistake.
The Prime Minister got it.
But was there a concoction of nonsense? Absolute nonsense.
Absolutely.
Neil Brathwaite was sworn in as the newest Supreme Court Justice today. He previously served as a Crown prosecutor in the Attorney General's office.
I, Neil Brathwaite, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors, according to law. So help me God.
Hours earlier, 4 lawyers were sworn in as magistrates in a ceremony at the main Supreme Court building. Shaka Serville, Algernon Allen Jr., Kendra Kelly, and Jan-Marie Darville-Miller will have a full calendar of cases waiting for them when they take the bench, according to Chief Justice Brian Moree.
You are no longer in the arena representing a client, but must now adjust to presiding over that arena with impartiality and fairness, with complete fidelity to justice according to law. As a magistrate, your decisions will touch thousands of lives over the course of your time in the magistracy. You must carry the weight of that responsibility with you every day as you deal with cases that come before you.
Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson-Pratt urged the newcomers to be true to the law and the facts and to accept that making unpopular decisions is part of the job.
Though you sit alone, you have an array of colleagues with varied experience and exposure. Our doors are open to lend assistance where we can. To each of you, I again say welcome to the magistracy. I hope you will find your new role as interesting, challenging, but fulfilling as I have over the past 10 years.
Well, some thunderstorms ahead. Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with the latest.
Thanks, Christina, and welcome everybody for your first look at weather. Hot and humid conditions around the islands today, and those humid conditions continuing outside our studios. Temperatures in the upper 70s, 78 degrees outside our studios. Partly cloudy skies. Winds out of the southwest at 5 knots, and your feels-like temperature factoring in that relative humidity in the low to mid 80s. Abundant tropical moisture across the area, interacting with an upper level disturbance, generating some showers and thunderstorms across the area. If you are asking for rainfall, well, it's here. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, $1 million worth of drugs seized on Exuma, plus minister slams the treatment of some MPs. Stay with us.
Every new season of On the Record, we push the limits. Venture into unknown territory. We take our cameras into places unseen before. We share the stories and experiences that affect us all. And now it's time for Season 5. On the Record, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on RTV Cable Channel 212 and streaming live on Facebook on the R News Bahamas page.
Authorities seizing more than $1 million worth of cocaine on Exuma during a joint operation between local and international law enforcement agencies. The suspects and drugs were transported to New Providence last night. Police press liaison officer ASP Audley Peters says the operation was conducted by the Drug Enforcement Unit, U.S. Coast Guard, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and the Marine Support Services Unit on Sunday afternoon.
When they observed a Piper aircraft flying at a low altitude in the area of Steventon, the officers then observed two males dropping two items out of the aircraft. The aircraft continued north on to Staniel Key, where it landed. While at Staniel Key, two males were arrested.
An examination of the Crocus sacks revealed 58 packages of suspected cocaine. Peters says the suspects are ages 59 and 27. They are expected to be charged later this week. And Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources Michael Pintard hitting out at the two major political parties during his contribution to the budget debate. He called for more sensitivity when deciding the fate of sitting MPs. Jasmine Brown reports.
Pintard did not hold back as he criticized both parties, insisting they both need to do better when it comes to handling sticky situations. He said both the Free National Movement and the Progressive Liberal Party are guilty of making painful decisions for members of parliament and then pretending that the organization isn't weaker once those individuals go their separate ways.
Seeing my colleagues, some of whom are now sitting on the back bench, sometimes it hurts me. I sat here yesterday and saw one of my colleagues rise to his feet and made an intervention, and it brought tears to my eyes. I was hurt. I was hurt for him. It's when you make a determination of how you see your future and the role you want to play in this country and helping to transform it, and then another group makes a choice for you, that is painful.
While he did not name the MP specifically, Fort Charlotte MP Mark Humes recently told the House of Assembly that he was unceremoniously dumped by the party when Jermico Archer was nominated as the FNM's candidate in April. Pintard says his heart goes to MPs in such situations.
One of us have to decide we can be more sensitive with each other.
Pintard also pointed to PLP MP Picewell Forbes, who announced in March that he will not run in the next general election, telling reporters that uncertainty over his renomination and a lack of support from his party's leadership on the ground sealed his fate.
The same thing happened to me with Brother Picewell. It's an equal opportunity thing. There has to be a difference in how we deal with each other. And then we can't pretend like we're not weaker because somehow we've lost someone. And political organizations in the Bahamas do this all the time. Believe that anyone who leaves or goes, it's inconsequential. It is not true.
Leon Lundy has since been ratified as the PLP's candidate for Mangrove Key in South Andros. Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, FNM Chairman Carl Culmer defending the party's candidate selection process, saying one man didn't make the decision, but rather constituency associations. This comes after several FNM MPs expressed their disappointment in the process. Kyle Joaquin reports.
It was a process. There was no one individual or one person saying that, hey, I want this person or I don't want that person.
According to some sitting FNM MPs, that's not the case. Last week, during her scathing contribution to the budget debate, Seabreeze MP Lenise Sherrill blasted the FNM's candidate selection process, which left her and several other sitting FNM MPs out in the cold.
There are those likened to King Darius's advisors who are determined that I will not return as an MP for whatever their reasons.
She called that process undemocratic. Pine Ridge MP Frederick McAlpine also blasting the Minnis administration and the FNM over that and a number of other issues. But one not many saw coming was this one from Fort Charlotte MP Mark Humes, who was also snubbed for renomination in Fort Charlotte. He said all he wanted was some respect.
The duly elected and unceremoniously deselected member of parliament sits here. I think it's quite disrespectful in my party.
Another MP not given a renomination, East Grand Bahama MP Peter Turnquest, who is also the party's deputy leader. It is still unclear why other FNM MPs like Fox Hill MP Sean L. Ferguson will not be seeking re-election.
Well, the thing is, it's about giving persons the opportunity, and we look at what is best for that particular constituency, who they think is best, and they had to say.
Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis says he's unfazed by the criticism of the FNM MPs. A while back, he said several sitting MPs would not be getting a nomination. But with the next general election right around the corner, what happens to these MPs? And is there space for them under the FNM's tent? Culmer seems to think so.
I'm happy to see many of them still say they're FNM, and they still talk about the FNM brand and talk. And their heart of hearts, they understand that the FNM is the best choice going into the election. And
for Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
DeAndre Ayton and the Suns advance to the Western Finals. The details when Our News returns.
Every new season of On the Record, we push the limits. Venture into unknown territory. We take our cameras into places unseen before. We share the stories and experiences that affect us all. And now it's time for Season 5. On the Record, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on RTV Cable Channel 212 and streaming live on Facebook on the Our News Bahamas page.
This is Our News. Welcome back. Just how handy is your father? Well, as Our News celebrates fathers, Kyle Joaquin teamed up with another dad for a bit of woodwork.
We've heard of Dad doing things like mowing the lawn or fixing something minor around the house. But just how good is your dad with his hands?
I don't want to say that if they're not, it's a bad thing. But as a homeowner,
yeah, you should be able to fix stuff around.
It'll save you a couple dollars.
Daniel Belton is a father of 2 girls and has been building some pretty cool creations out of wood over the past 6 years. And now he's a household name, making wall pieces, tabletops, chairs, and a list of other unique art pieces.
And then this here is a custom wall piece, custom designed.
And his work area is a clear sign that he has some little helpers in there.
One just turned 10. I got a 5-year-old. You can see they decked
the artwork on the side.
They decked my wall out with the artwork.
So it was time for us to get to work. My role in this operation wouldn't be as complicated as I expected, but still handy, sorta.
All you really have to do is paint the top and just right around the edges. You don't have to paint the whole thing, the entire thing, because it's going to go in there and you're not going to see the bottom. So the painting will take me probably about 2 to 3 days.
Whoa, 2 to 3 days to paint?
Yeah.
After this experience, I was ready to add something new to my resume.
You can put that you did some arts and crafts. That's what I tell the girls.
Wow! So basically, Belton says you don't have to exactly know how to build a house, but fix a thing or two every now and again. And for all you dads out there looking to get a bit more handy, Daniel says one thing you'll need for sure is a toolbox. For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Thanks, Kyle. Well, Bahamas Heritage Night, a big success in Miami for Jazz Chisholm. Marcellus Hall has that and more tonight in sports.
All right, thanks a lot. Welcome to our Sports on the Monday, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. Jazz Chisholm and the Bahamas in the spotlight this past weekend as the Bahamas being treated to Heritage Night at Lone Depot Park. Let's take a look. Lone Depot Park in Miami coming to life on Saturday afternoon for Bahamian Heritage Night, hosted by the Miami Marlins in honor of Bahamian Jazz Chisholm. Scores of Bahamians in attendance for the game between the Miami Marlins and Atlanta Braves. Fans in attendance getting a taste of Bahamian culture with Junkanoo in full effect and a post-game concert featuring Bahamian artist Julianne Believe. As for the game itself, Jazz and the Marlins able to hold on for the 4-2 victory. Marlins taking 2 out of 3 games in the weekend series. Bahamas Baseball Association Secretary General Teddy Sweeting thanking the Bahamas and Bahamians in attendance, but admonishing the government to focus on youth development.
We have really showed Jazz our appreciation and love. But I don't want us to ever forget one thing. Jazz has made it. We need to worry about all those athletes, baseball players who are in the crunches, who are trying to get there to the top of their sport. We need government to put the same emphasis that they put into coming over here to support jazz into the development of our young people's society. That's where it is. When we do that, I'm the happiest man in the world.
Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, Iram Lewis, also in attendance, blown away by what he saw.
We came here as the man is celebrating jazzism in the Bahamas, and again, there's nothing short of spectacular. Jazz had a great game. You can see his magnetic personality. Everyone in the stadium, just whenever his picture comes up on the screen, whether Bahamians or not, there was a buzz. So again, this speaks volume for what he's doing. This speaks volume for what the Bahamas has to offer. And I do believe that this is the beginning of a wonderful, wonderful experience, or this is the continuation of a wonderful experience. And based on what I saw just now at the stadium, after the game, we went to greet Jazz. After greeting us, he was looking around for the young, up-and-coming baseball players from the Bahamas, just to inspire them. And he's out there now talking to them after the game, before he go and meet with his teammates and his managers. He's now mentoring and inspiring the young women baseball players. So
to the NBA, where DeAndre Ayton and the Phoenix Suns are into the Western Conference Finals. Suns yesterday beating the Denver Nuggets 125-118. They complete the 4-game sweep and advance in the process. Ayton 12 points, 7 rebounds in the game. He averaged 14 points, 10 rebounds for the series. Suns now await the winner of the Utah Jazz and LA Clippers series, which continues tonight. And that's a check on sports for you here on this Monday. I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you.
Up next, preparing the next generation for major hurricanes. Stay with us.
Every new season of On the Record, we push the limits. Venture into unknown territory. We take our cameras into places unseen before. We share the stories and experiences that affect us all. And now it's time for Season 5. On the Record, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on RTV Cable Channel 212 and streaming live on Facebook on the R News Bahamas page.
Welcome back to our news. Hot and humid days ahead. Greg is back in the weather studio with the details.
Thanks again, Christina. Welcome back, everybody, for our second look at weather. The tropics heating up as we speak. National Hurricane Center now tracking Tropical Depression number 2 that formed earlier this morning, racing towards the north and east off the Carolina coast. That one will not pose any problem for anybody. We're also watching that area in the Bay of Campeche off of Mexico for some formation, and we have a very strong tropical wave that moved off the African coast. As I said, the tropics heating up. We will continue to monitor these systems as they move across the tropical belt. Boating forecast for the Northwest Bahamas tonight through tomorrow. Your winds will be out of the south to southwest at 10 to 15 knot, seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. While in the central and southeastern islands, your winds will be southeast to south, 10 to 15 knots, seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. Your high tide will be at 11:36 tonight. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through Saturday. That's a look at our weather. We will continue to monitor tropics. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Greg. Well, a lot of lessons were learned following Hurricane Dorian in the Bahamas, but far too many lives were lost. Plans and policies have been introduced, but this hurricane season will be the real test. However, do we have the training and human resources to adapt and respond to disasters of that magnitude?
We have the Ministry of Disaster Preparedness Management and Reconstruction. We have the Disaster Reconstruction Authority, but we have no educated disaster managers in the country. We have trained persons, but we have no educated persons. It's a big difference.
Trevor Johnson, a PhD student, is particularly invested in building capacity here at home. Find out about that and more tonight as RTV presents The Breakdown. Are you ready for the next big one? Well, thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas. The Breakdown starts right now.